Good morning, dear colleagues. Welcome to the introduction webinar of the Regional Training on Bilateral Labor Migration Agreements in the Pacific. My name is Leo, and I will have the pleasure to be course tutor throughout the implementation of the regional workshop. Today's session will be divided into two parts. The first part of the session will be about the course structure. I will share a presentation where we're going to have the opportunity to go through the details of the course in terms of logistics, in terms of assessment, in terms of certification, and also the key dates. As a reminder, this course is a blended activity, meaning that we have an online pre-training component and then a face-to-face workshop. And further, we have the final assignment and individual activities for the follow-up phase. We're going to discuss all these details during this session. And during the second part of the session, we're gonna go through the eCampus platform to navigate the platform, how to get used to the features. And in particular, it is very important to be familiar with this platform because all the activities, the training materials, key information, key documents for the three phases of the course will be available online via the eCampus platform. So it's very important to be familiar with this platform. The beginning of this week, we've shared an invitation email that you should have received. We invited you to log into the eCampus platform, providing you also with the username and the possibility to have access and reset your password. So in case you did not receive this email, please let us know so we can proceed to provide support so you can access the eCampus platform properly. I will now begin the first part of the presentation by sharing my screen. We should now see on screen the first slide of the presentation. This regional workshop on bilateral labor migration agreements in the Pacific, it's the fruit of the partnership, collective effort between the PACER Plus implementation unit, the International Labor Organization, the International Organization for Migration, and the ITC-ILO. We will now go to the next slide. The objective of the course is mainly to increase the potential of bilateral labor migration agreements by improving the governance of labor migration, focusing as well on the promotion and protection of migrant workers' rights, to enhance migration, the linkages, between migration and development. And it also aims to reinforce the negotiation skills and techniques of officials involved in the adoption and follow-up of bilateral or multilateral agreements. More in particular, the objectives of the course could be divided as follows. So at the end of the regional training workshop, participants will have firstly discuss the potential challenges for effective implementation of BLAs or MOUs and their way forward. They also would have appreciated the roles and objectives and challenges and opportunities associated with negotiating bilateral labor migration agreements. Participants are expected to become familiar with key policy priorities that justify the need to adopt bilateral labor migration agreements. Participants will also have the opportunity to identify good practices based on a specific criteria drawn from international norms, highlighting agreements which could lead to better outcomes in terms of migration governance and the protection of migrant workers. It is expected to improve the capacity for critical review of existing BLAs or MOUs and negotiate for their revisions. Also, to better understand the negotiation process and techniques of effective negotiation, including through the simulation of a negotiation agreement, which this will be explained further on the presentation. During the group work activity, a BLA, a bilateral labor migration agreement, negotiation will take place, and we will explain the guidelines on the next slides. Finally, participants will have the opportunity to exchange with peers and experts on how the labor mobility legal working group can be an effective technical support for their respective countries. In terms of the technical content, there will be two parts. One is a technical content on bilateral labor migration instruments, and the other is a technical content on negotiation skills. So just to name a few, in terms of BLMIs, we're gonna go through a historical overview and current developments of bilateral labor migration instruments, different types and features, comparative analysis between them, the recent global and regional trends. We're also gonna have a session on normative foundations, including global guidance. We're gonna have another chapter on minimum standards and provisions for BLAs and MOUs. And also to complement, we have the skills dimension, how to include the skills I mentioned in bilateral labor migration instruments, social protection provisions as well, adopting a gender-sensitive approach, how to make agreements work in terms of implementation, and also in the follow-up capacity, the monitoring and evaluation of these instruments. And finally, we're going to have a good practice review of BLMAs and MOUs. In terms of negotiation skills, we're going to go through the processes and stages of negotiating BLAs. Also, the different positions we can take during a negotiation, position-based approach or a needs-based approach, the different characteristics, and the pros and cons of both negotiation techniques and the complementarity among these negotiation approaches. And of course, the behaviors of effective negotiators. I'm going to go through the next slide. So as you may know, this regional workshop is divided into 3 phases. So the phase number 1, the first one will be held online. So during the next couple of weeks, from the 6th May till the 17th, it will take place online via the eCampus platform. And this is a tutor-based approach. That means that there will be an online follow-up and constant feedback and technical support for participants at this stage. So phase 1 is composed by module 1 and module 2. We're gonna go through these models on the second part of the presentation. So each module contains videos, self-guided toolkits, readings, pre-recorded sessions, and also quizzes that you will have to complete in order to advance to the next phase. Phase number 2 is the residential component of the regional workshop that will take place at the Nalagi Resort in Nadi, Fiji. The phase number 2 will take place between the 20th and the 24th of May. So it's going to be a 5-day face-to-face or residential training workshop. It will focus on building and exchanging knowledge. And as I discussed in the previous slide, we're also going to have a group work. We're going to explain the guidelines on the next slides. And you'll find also in the eCampus platform all the logistics and key information for this phase 2 regional approach. Finally, phase number 3 is an online follow-up individual activity that will last approximately 2 weeks, from the 27th May till the 9th June. And during this follow-up phase, it consists of individual activities, in particular, a final quiz, so a final assessment of the regional workshop, and a final individual assignment that is required for the certificate of achievement. So we're going to go through the different certificates that you can obtain in this regional workshop. on the next slide. This slide, we're going to discuss about the group work that will take place during phase number 2, during the face-to-face approach. It will consist in a bilateral labor migration agreement simulation. So you'll be divided into 2 teams. There will be a country of origin and a country of destination, and the task will be to negotiate a BLA between your respective countries. So you'll receive a case study with different guidelines and priorities, and then you will have the opportunity to have several negotiation sessions with aiming at reaching an agreement between both country of origin and country of destination. The group work accounts for 30 points of your final grade. So it's 30%. And so it's very important to take this into account. In terms of the final assignment, we will provide further guidelines for phase 3. So the last training approach of the course, but the final assignment will account for 40 points. So it's 40% of your final grade. As a reminder, this final assignment is mandatory to obtain the certificate of achievement. So in this slide, we're going to discuss, there's 2 types of certificates. The first one is the certificate of achievement. So once you complete with a passing grade of at least 60%, how can you obtain this grade? So you have quizzes that account for 30 points, the group work that accounts for another 30 points, and the final assignment that accounts for 40 points. So it's a total of 100 points. And to get this certificate of achievement, it is mandatory to submit the final assignment. So that's important to take into consideration. And of course, there will also be 10 points extra for active participation throughout the course. The second type of certificate is a certificate of participation. That is when you get from 30 to 60 points. And also if you don't submit a final assignment, you can also qualify for a certificate of participation. And finally, no certification from 0 to 30 points. Now we're reaching the end of the first part of the session. As you can see on screen, we have a screenshot of the eCampus platform. And I would like to share my screen again to learn how to navigate in the platform. I will stop sharing my screen in order to show the eCampus platform of the course. So now you should see on screen the eCampus of the course. This is the platform where all activities will be available, the training materials, the key dates, the information, also the submission links. So it's very important to get familiar with this platform. As you can see on the dashboard, we already have these sections. So the first one is useful information. Here you're going to find the learner's guide and the introduction to the course. Then you have a file with the course program and agenda. You also have a virtual coffee place where you can exchange with your peers. And you also have a hotline in case you want to share your suggestions or if you have any technical problems, and we will have the pleasure to provide support. Then we have the getting started section where you have 4 activities. The first one is to update your profile. Second one is a pre-survey. Then we have a quiz that it's a what do you already know, that it's a pre-course survey. And then we have an icebreaker activity. Now, as I was mentioning in the first presentation, the course is divided into 3 phases. So phase number 1, we already have as the sections divided, where you'll find the activities and guidelines. So for the pre-training phase, you already have the guidelines available. So for instance, for the first week of the course, so it's the activities that you're expected to complete in terms of webinars and pre-recorded sessions, the self-guided models, and other video sessions and the quiz. Then we have week 2 activities as well. In order to access those activities, you just have to click here to complete the activities. As you can see on the right corner of the screen, you have a completion status bar. So once you complete the activity, it will show up your progress and also the missing activities that you have. So this is one good way to keep track on your progress. Then we're gonna move to the next session. So for instance, here on face-to-face, during the face-to-face component, we have already these files. So you have the program agenda and an information notes that it's important to keep in mind in terms of logistics, or if you want to check again the guidelines for this component. And for the follow-up phase, you already have the guidelines, and we will be uploading the necessary materials in the next coming weeks. I think at the moment, it's already enough information. I believe this is already a good amount of information to get you started to the course, to be familiar with the course structure, with the course eCampus platform. But of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send us an email, and we'll be happy to provide support. In case you have trouble accessing the eCampus platform, don't hesitate on letting us know, so we can make sure that you have access and that you were able to have a proper login to the platform. We are now reaching the end of the introduction session of the regional workshop. In case you have any further questions, we will be happy to provide support. And we'll see you on the next sessions of the course. And also we will be available online for all your technical questions or suggestions you may have. We wish you a very fruitful first phase online navigation and training part of the course, and see you very soon. Thank you very much.